So we should be good to go. So awesome. So Scott, I can't thank you enough for being here and taking the time to talk a little bit with me and to share your story with the community. I really like to engage with different people in the community. I usually bring in like experts and thought leaders and professionals and everything like that to kind of share information. But, you know, I think there's something really powerful that people can relate to hearing a story from somebody who's not an elite level expert or whatever it is in the golf world. But that being said, you have a lot of experience in the real world and playing golf and helping all of us in the country with what you do, being a member of the Air National Guard and being a member of the Veteran Golfers Association, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But before we do, I want to start off with a really fun question for you, which is, how did you get started playing golf?
Well, so I was stationed at Moody Air Force Base down in Georgia when I first joined in 1995. And my one buddy, Bill Breacher, actually was he's a zero handicap back then, and he played a lot of golf. And you know, he brought me and my buddies out, and I loved it from the start. And I fell in love with it then. I never took it really super seriously though until probably about 5 years ago. But that's how I got started in the game, just going out and playing with those guys and learning from them.
So you said you didn't really get going seriously until 5 years ago. Let's back up a little bit and kind of, when did you get involved with the VGA?
VGA I started about 3 years ago, and I actually I became the director of Pennsylvania. So I ran all the tournaments in Pennsylvania. And I was also the assistant North Region director. I since have stepped down so I could just concentrate on the tournament part of it, because I want to get better at that. I could not believe the difference between, you know, going from playing with your buddies to actually going and playing tournament golf. And you know, I could go out and shoot, you know, in the 70s pretty often as a with my friends. But man, as soon as I started playing tournament golf, I would shoot in the 90s, and I still am trying to figure this out and you know, take my game from there to the tournament side of it. So.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head there, where there's a lot of people probably watching this right now, or they might be watching the replay, who aren't tour players. They are just kind of, you know, they have that taste. They've been playing golf for a little bit, but now they're going into something competitive. And to your point, it's totally different. The mindset going into a round of, you know, there's a little bit of that pressure of like, okay, I only get one shot, I got to make it count. I'm curious, what are some of the things that have helped you in that transition over these few years of being able to go from that recreational play to that tournament play? And is there still a separation between the two, or have they kind of started to blend together for you?
They're actually starting to blend together. We had a tournament last weekend, and that was the first time where I felt confident going into it. I blew up on the last two holes, which kind of messed my score up, but I know what I did wrong there. But actually what I did is you know, I saw that video you put out, and what I would do is, you know, instead of, you know, having a nice pre-shot routine where I'd be doing the thinking before the feeling part, I would just go up next to my ball, try to make that all compute in my brain on how to hit the ball from there, take my practice swings right next to it, and hit the ball. I really concentrated this time on, you know, standing back away from the ball and then going in 100% committed to my shot. And it made all the difference in the world. You know, I had a chance for a 79 on the last hole with a putt. It was a downhiller, and I hit it way too hard, knocked it by, you know, duffed my chip out of the fringe after that, and ended up taking a quad. But, you know, I learned from that right when it happened. You know, I should have just putted down to the hole, took my 80, and been happy with that. But, you know, I really wanted that. So, but I'll learn from it next time, you know, try to get the 2 putt in there.
Absolutely. And for those watching that might not have the context here, I think what you're talking about is I put out a training video inside my group here not too long ago about pre-shot routine and making each shot count, and really how to dial in and separate between thinking and feeling and really executing on it. And you make a really good point where, you know, one of the lessons coming out of that is, even if the shot isn't perfect, we can still learn from it. And as long as we go into each shot with 100% commitment, there's always an opportunity to learn and to grow. And you know, there's players like we hear the story of Lee Trevino. When he was growing up, he didn't come from, you know, an affluent family, and he was kind of the mindset of anytime that he was able to hit golf balls, he wanted to make each one as great as possible. And the story goes that every time he was on the range, he'd hit a ball, and his mindset was, this shot is so I can buy my mom a house because she raised me. She was a great mother. I want to be able to make each shot so good that I can make money doing this. And it's just that intense focus, which is really powerful. And I'll go ahead and I'll share a link for anybody watching that wants to get that training. But let's back up for a quick second here, because some people watching might not know what the VGA is. And I'd love to hear a little bit about who they are and kind of your involvement with them, and what their kind of mission is to help grow the game. Obviously with Corona coming around, it's been down for a little bit, but you guys are back open, you're holding tournaments. And for any veterans that might be watching, depending on their state, obviously, tell us a little bit about the organization and what you guys do.
So the VGA is the Veterans Golfers Association. It's also for family members of veterans too. So any family members can also join. It's a flighted tour. So, you know, you're playing against people of your own ability as well. But what happens is we have about, I think, 10,000 members right now. So it's pretty large. I think 300 tournaments nationwide throughout the year. All it is, it's enriching the lives of veterans through the game of golf. And I mean, we have double amputees that play out there. I played with one on Saturday, Tyson Quirk, and great guy. And it's just an inspiration to watch some of them people. But I mean, the biggest thing for me is the VGA is not the tournaments and playing golf. It's the camaraderie of meeting the guys. I have lifelong friends already that I pretty much text every day. And that's the biggest, reason why I love the VGA. It's humbling out there sometimes seeing what some of those guys have even went through a lot worse than I ever have, to see, them pulling through. And I know it's saved people's lives. Some people have told me, they didn't have a passion to do anything, and they just love the game of golf. And, veterans as it is love to compete. So, I say it's all about this, but we're a competitive bunch too. We get out there and go after it against each other. And, they all make fun of me because I'm in the Air Force. They say we get to golf all the time anyway, so we should be better. But, we razz each other and we have a great time. And, that's what it means to me.
So you said there's about 10,000 people all over the country, but it's also open to family and everything like that. So it sounds like even if somebody is overseas right now, but the family is back home and they want to get involved, they can still do that. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Awesome. How does somebody get connected into this organization if they want to play?
So VGAgolf.org is the website, and you can join right from there.
Awesome. So how did you find out about the VGA?
So my buddy Brent Will actually told me about it. He's actually probably one of the best golfers I've ever played with. He's played for the All Air Force team and the All Military team. He's a scratch golfer, but he told me about it, and that's how I got involved.
Awesome. Now, something that I'm always curious about is, obviously when you go through military training, whatever branch you go down, there's a lot of regiment that comes into it. And, having that background, there's a lot of similarities between that and golf, especially with what you were just talking about with the training that we were talking about, of being able to separate your process, to go through your checklist, especially Air Force. We know that flying an airplane, you have a checklist that you have to go through the protocols and everything like that. How does that mindset transfer, at least for you in your own personal experience of going through a military background and military training and everything like that, and then applying it into the golf world? Do you find that it's helped your game, or do you find that you have to relearn some certain things? What's kind of your perspective on that?
Well, I definitely put in the time practicing. Sometimes I haven't been practicing correctly though, and I'm starting to learn that. I used to go to the range and beat ball after ball after ball, and now I'm realizing that there's a whole process to it, and you want to practice like you play. And so now when I'm going out there, I'm doing my pre-shot routine on each shot and picturing it in my mind before I hit it on the range, and that's helping a lot. But and just keeping a good schedule and just I'm devoted to it now though, and I want to get better. I want to get down to a low handicap this year.
So it sounds like it's very similar where in the military you're doing tactical training, you go through different protocols and different scenarios. So when you're in that situation, you're very familiar with it. And it sounds like that's how you're starting to practice. Would you say it's safe to say that that has not always been the way that you've practiced?
No, not at all. In fact, I have a little story for you. So last year, I got invited on a golf trip with Brent that I was talking about and a bunch of his buddies. They're all scratch golfers, so I'm nervous as heck. I'm out there beating balls every single day before I go on this trip, and all of a sudden, I hit a hosel rocket to the left. I'm a left-handed golfer, and I'm like, oh man! And then I did it again, and then I got the shanks right before I went on this trip. So I go down there. First place we play is Old Chatham in North Carolina. One of an amazing course, and I just get out there and I shank the ball all over the place. So I never want that to happen again. And I watched 47 videos on how not to shank the ball, and I just got in my head. But that's one of the worst things I ever went through on my golf game. It was horrible. But I went out this year making sure I practiced right and not just sat there and worried about hitting the ball, but worried about my target and worried about what I do before the shot, and not worried so much about my swing mechanics.
I love that. What was kind of the shift mentally and with the result that happened when you made that shift? It sounds like you were thinking mechanics and don't shank and square the club face up and all these technical thoughts that a lot of us watching deal with. It's really common to be standing over the ball and have 1,000 things going through your head, but it sounds like you were able to make that shift, and rather than being in here, focusing out there, and it made a big difference. How long did that take, and what kind of came out of the other side of that for you?
Well, I think I came back from there and I started going the range. But working really on my tempo really helped a lot, because I didn't realize, I felt like I was swinging slower, but I videotaped it. And I was swinging 100 miles per hour. But in my brain I'm thinking I'm not. So learning how to control my tempo was probably the biggest thing that helped that.
Awesome. And that makes a lot of sense, is sometimes we think that we're swinging slower, but really it's swinging smoother. And smoother is more efficient. We get more club head speed.
Right. And I also, so I'm a graduate of the PGA Hope program. There's all kinds of golfing things out there for veterans that a lot of great different programs. I just actually joined the SMGA, which is Salute Military Golf Association. And I get 6 free lessons with that, and that's another great one. But I did the PGA Hope last year, and it's a bunch of PGA pros would come in and volunteer their time, which I'm grateful for, and teach us our swings and short game and other stuff. And so they really helped me as well. As I would encourage anybody who's out there to get lessons first and not try it themselves and get all the bad habits down, because those are sometimes hard to break. But PGA Tour pros or PGA teaching pros really helped out a lot.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it is such a great program. And one of the things, as a PGA professional myself, one of the things that we hear about and talk about all the time, especially in the context of Hope, is something that you mentioned earlier in this conversation about how for a lot of guys, especially after they've just come back from deployment, maybe they have an injury or an amputation or something like that, is this game has the ability to save their life. And it sounds, if anybody watching is not really familiar with the game enough to understand what that means, like, it's a profound thing how this game can humble us and give us something to dedicate our focus towards and everything like that. I'd love to hear your perspective as a veteran of what this game has done for yourself and what it's done for your peers around you, to kind of, we call it PGA Hope for a reason, because it gives us that. So I'd love to hear your side of the coin on that.
Right. I mean, so many guys, come back. It's hard to go to war and not have some sort of PTSD. I mean, I was in Baghdad for 5 months, and that was, it was horrible. Horrible time. A lot of people lost their lives, and you almost feel guilty in a way coming home, and it's a weird feeling. So being able to go get on the golf course, just it's in nature, and it's just, the game's just, it's awesome. I can't. It's amazing. But it helps a lot of guys get together, and we're out there together, and you spend 4 hours with a guy, and you learn about where he went and what he did, and some of the issues he's having in life. But when the COVID stuff happened and we couldn't golf much, it really took a toll. You can get down in the dumps, but now, getting back out there, it just, the game of golf just really helps out a lot.
That's awesome. And I think, you mentioned that there's a lot of people within the organization that you've become really close friends with. I'm sure anybody watching who's not yet involved in the organization obviously should be, because there's this commonality between golf itself is just a humbling game that everybody can relate to. You could be the most athletic, talented person in the world, and then you go to swing a golf club and you top it or you shank it or something. It's like, oh, okay. But then on top of that, there's this commonality of having gone through the military, maybe deployment and things like that. I'd love for you to speak a little bit to what that camaraderie is like. And if somebody's hesitant about joining, is it something where it's a welcoming atmosphere, and how's that connection, and what should somebody expect, even if whether they're the one who's enlisted or it's the family? We want to get as many people involved in this game, in this organization, as possible. What's that experience like?
Oh, it's very open. People, take you under their wings and they'll help you out. It doesn't matter. I mean, we have people that are 36 handicappers all the way to plus golfers out there. And, it's more of, you get together beforehand and have a couple of beers afterwards. It's just, it's very open arms. It's a great experience. I mean, last year our championship was at Greenbrier, and the year before at Olympic Club. So it's some amazing places we get to play as well. So, but yeah, it's very, very opening organization.
That's awesome. And so it sounds like if somebody's watching and they're not sure, they can check out the website. They can get in contact with somebody within their section, within their region, especially with the golf courses around the country starting to open up. There's a lot of states that were closed that are now starting to open. You're one of them. Up in Pennsylvania, up until about 2-3 weeks ago, it was closed. So, that's an interesting experience where you're playing all the time. It's a great passion for you. Then they close down. What was it like going through that isolation of not being able to play golf, and then all of a sudden now it's back? A lot of people are still dealing with this, especially in the Northeast and these really populous areas. What was your perspective having gone through that?
It wasn't too bad because we were open up until March, and then just, a little while out, and the weather was kind of not great up here. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been if it was in the middle of summer. But, and I just tried to do as much practicing indoors or right outside of my yard that I could. So, you can always work on the short game. There's nothing wrong with that.
Awesome. And now that you're back, it sounds like obviously with social distancing in place, it's time to go out and play, get ready for the season. People are going to start coming back together. I'd love for you to we'll circle back into what we were talking about earlier, the training that I had put together for the pre-shot routine. Now that you know what you know, and now that you've gone out and implemented it, how does that change your potential trajectory moving forward? What are the new goals for this season, and what new opportunities has that opened up for you?
My goal, I want to get down to a 5 handicap for this year. We had to cancel our national championship because of the COVID stuff. So I'm just going to practice really hard and try to get the most tournament experience I can out of it, and maybe even play in some other local tournaments as well, and try to get the blood flowing, because it's a whole different ball game when you're out there and your hands start sweating and you're getting ready to hit a shot, and your heart's going crazy. The breathing thing that you talked about too, I think it was the box breathing. I did that during the round last week too, and that helped a lot as well. How so? It just calmed me. I actually did it before the interview. I was nervous again, and I just started doing it and calmed down, and it helped a lot. It just kind of brought me back to the present moment.
And I think that's so important for anybody watching, especially if they are a veteran, especially if they've been deployed. I mean, as a civilian myself, I look at what you've done, and that scares the crap out of me, to go overseas and to go into war and all this stuff. And then we all get that feeling of, it's just a game of golf. We're standing on the first tee, we're nervous. And it's like, no matter what you've gone through in life, this game has a way of humbling you and bringing you back to just that square one, and we're all equal level. And it's cool to hear how there's little things out there that we can do that help us out, whether it's just playing with a new group of people. And I think the bottom line that you're talking about here is exposure is really important. getting into playing more, you know, anybody can go out and play a casual round, but to go out and play something that has a little bit more pressure on the line, even if you're not a serious competitive golfer, it's a really cool thing to go out and do and just expand what you're able to put yourself through mentally and physically. And I think that in of itself of doing uncomfortable things is something that really pushes us and strives us to grow. So what would you say to anybody who's on the fence, who's like, you know what, I'd love to get involved in an organization, but I'm not a competitive golfer. I'm, you know, a lot of, you know, big crowds are maybe uncomfortable for me, or anything like that. What would you say to help encourage somebody to just take that leap of faith and give it a try?
I mean, I would just tell them it's a, like I said, it's very welcoming. And once you get out there, I mean, within the first couple minutes, you know that the guys and the girls will open up and let you in and let you be part of the tour. And it's, I mean, just give it a try. That's all I can say.
How serious is it in terms of, are we obviously playing by all the rules? What if you don't know the rules? Is there some leniency? Is it more of, this is a very structured USGA type tournament, regulated type thing? Or is it, if you want to just go out there and be with people and look, if I don't know the rules and whatever, it's lenient, where does that kind of fall in that frame for anybody?
Well, we do play by the rules. We have a couple local rules. You know, we'll play a lot of the out of bounds as lateral hazards and just in double par to speed up the game. But I didn't know all the rules when I came out. Not even close. I thought I did, but you know, it totally changes how when you're playing with your buddies, you think you're doing right, but you know, you probably cost yourself 6 or 7 penalty strokes and you don't even know it during the round for what you do. But you know, they'll teach you and they'll help you out. And that's what I did. I just asked people as I was playing, you know, what am I supposed to do here? Or what am I supposed to do with, you know, how do I drop this ball if I lose it? So.
Awesome. I think that's really important is just people that are watching that might not have ever played in a tournament experience before, of just knowing like, hey, even if you don't know all the rules, just go do it. Everybody's going to help you out. It sounds like there's opportunities to get lessons from professionals, and there's a good organization. People are going to help you through it. It's not like some situations and scenarios where people are going to be sticklers and get down on you and expect you to know everything and hold you to the standard. It sounds like kind of what the military is in general, of almost this brotherhood and this fraternity, if you will, of we're all here helping each other out. And so for anybody who's gone through that and maybe misses that, I know a lot of people, they come back and they're no longer with their friends and their and everything. It's like, there's a lot, you miss it, right? And it sounds like this is a great way to get that back.
Yeah, Blaine, I mean, most of the guys, I'm fortunate to still be in. I'll probably be retiring here within the next 4 or 5 years. But I mean, when you talk to them, the thing that people in military miss is not, you know, the job or this or that. They miss the people. They miss the brotherhood and sisterhood of, you know, people that are willing to give their lives up to protect you. That's what you miss. And that, you know, this brings it back. Also, you know, we're talking about people being scared. Like I was super scared, especially going out, but playing with guys that are a lot better than you or girls that are a lot better than you. That's how I learned. That it makes me such a better golfer. In fact, my buddy Jerry Woods, he's a Purple Heart veteran, Marine Corps. He actually won the Bush Warrior Open last year. So my goal was he moved to Arizona on Monday from here, but my goal was to finally beat him, and I did so by 2 strokes. So I had to throw that in there on Saturday. So we did play from different tees, but he's an A flighter. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's really big. That's huge.
Yes.
So you said you're looking at retiring a little bit. Are you talking about retiring from the organization or retiring from kind of your director status? And what do you mean by
No, the military in general.
Oh, from the okay.
And then
Sure.
yes.
Awesome. So I know we mentioned it before. Some people have probably hopped on since we started, but if they want to get involved, how do they get in touch with the VGA? Where do you suggest they get started? Who should they reach out to? You know, whether they're the ones that are enrolled or they're the ones that are just the family members who are interested.
If they go to VGA golf.org, they can sign up for it. And then there's a state director in pretty much every state, and also regional directors, and they can go in and sign up for that. And it'll give a list of all the tournaments that are open, and you can sign up for it in there as well. Leo Kohler is the Pennsylvania director. If anybody in Pennsylvania is going to join.
Leo might be on this call. I was reaching out to him. Let's see if he's on. I don't think it'll show me if he's on here, but yeah, shout out to Leo, and if anybody's in Pennsylvania. All right, final thoughts. What are any last words of wisdom, insights, whatever it is that you want to throw out to anybody that's watching this?
Just practice. If you want to get better, I've been spending a lot of time on the range in my short game, and you know, if you want a fun tour to join that's not too serious, come join the VGA, and there's also a lot of other programs out there for veterans as well.
Awesome. Well, Scott,
and I want to thank you for having me on as well, Blaine.
Oh, thank you, Scott. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing this, because I think the VGA is such a great organization, and I appreciate you reaching out to me the other day and sharing, well, what you did about how that training helped you out. And it, you know, that little act of generosity is what connected us, and you never know what can come out of that. And, you know, I wish you all the best with your game, and hopefully we can grow the game together and you know, support such a great cause. So I thank you for being here, and everybody watching, golf is opening up. Let's get out and let's play.
All right. Hit them straight, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Later.